Gretchen Rosenberg at Kentwood Real Estate, and today I'm joined by Roy Lopez and Jonathan Lopez of the Glery Ross Group within Kentwood. And I am super excited to chat with them about their career and what brought them to real estate. They're very big on giving back to community, and I have a series of some pretty interesting questions. And so let's just dive in right away. Roy, welcome. I'm
Thank
so
you,
happy
Gretchen.
to and Jonathan as well. It's all in the family with your family and your business. And the first question I have is for Roy is why the Glery Ross Group and what brought you to that name and brought you to this place in your life?
That's a good question, Gretchen. The reason we decided to do the Glery Ross Group is there's a long history behind the name itself, but not getting into the specifics of it. It was more about my family that my mother had a business, a couture business. She was a former model and decided to set up a high-end store in Havana, Cuba. And so this was a place where people could come in and basically get custom dresses and things like that. And it became a well-known name in Havana, Cuba. However, during Christmas time, she gave to the community. She opened up the doors like Macy's opening up and say, here's some toys for the needy. And so she did that during the Christmas time. And it stuck in my head that all of a sudden here it is, this high-end store opening up the doors for the needy. And they came in, they took the gifts, nothing in return. And so that stuck in my mind. And so when John and I got together, we decided, you know, the Lopez Group just doesn't have the ring we wanted to. So we decided to go with the Glery Ross Group. And it really embodies what we're all about. We give and we receive. We give service and we receive compensation. And so that's the genesis for basically setting up the Glery Ross Group.
That pays homage to your mother and your grandmother. Jonathan, what does that mean for you to have sort of this family legacy of immigrants from Havana, Cuba, and high-end couture and giving back to the community?
Yeah, it's pretty cool, to be able to have, the name carry on the legacy, of our family from that side, and Glery Ross Group. A lot of people confuse it with Glenn Ross, the famous movie. A little bit different than that, but it's really fun. And again, it's a great way to carry on the legacy. And as Roy was saying, kind of our purpose and our mission is real estate with a purpose. All of that backstory feeding into kind of that mission.
Yeah. So speaking of real estate with a purpose, I was really fortunate about a year and a half ago to be able to attend a function with your family honoring Roy for giving back to the schools, particularly North High School. And I also know that you've traveled to the Caribbean to build bicycles for children and give out bicycles. Do you, either of you, want to talk about the giving back, since you brought that up, specifically what it is that you do?
Sure. Part of our mission, Gretchen, again, is giving back to the community on many levels, not only the local community, but also the needy as well. My family and John has been involved also with the Dominican Republic in helping a remote community there that basically my folks started building a community center, a church, and a clinic. And so part of it was that we started with the General Hospital. My father helped build the General Hospital for the Dominican Republic. It was the biggest hospital center obviously in the Caribbean. And so consequently, part of what we wanted to do with the Glery Ross Group is to figure out a way to give back, to really help the needy. And so John and I talked about it, and we decided that maybe what we should do is look for where there is a certain level of need for kids. And what's important for a kid when you're terminally ill, you're afflicted by other disease, than a bicycle right before Christmas. And so we thought, why don't we just basically give away bicycles to the needy, to the kids that are in these hospitals that will be just such a glorious moment for them to have a bicycle. And so we identified 67 kids in this particular children's section of the hospital, and we bought 67 bikes. And we gave away 67 bikes, and it was just a fantastic I can't tell you how emotional it was, but it was just a fantastic moment in time to see these kids smile. Although some could barely walk, they smile and they could get their bikes. The parents were saying, well, I don't know if you can ride the bike. And the kids were saying, yes, I will ride the bike. And that's the attitude we wanted. So we just thought we wanted to have an impact on the kids and the parents. Nothing to do with real estate, essentially, except we wanted to help the community. And it was a community that really, really needed some help. And so that was why we decided to do it in the Dominican Republic.
That's amazing. I saw the photos of the kids with the bikes and it just like totally warmed my heart. So, Jonathan, do you have a place where if anybody watching this wanted to go donate to help you accomplish this again in the future, do you have somewhere that you're raising money for this initiative, or do you have your own foundation that you look toward getting people to donate for?
Yeah, so we've talked through and are still working on kind of a Glery Ross Group foundation, but to a degree, again, the real estate with a purpose is we're committing to donating a portion of our commission to that cause. And shameless plug for my dad here as well. He'll be too humble to say it, but you'd mentioned the community involvement, not only that he just explained on an international level and continuing the legacy of giving of our family there. But also here locally, there was North High School and Denver Public Schools recognized him as Volunteer of the Year as well. So making impact on the local level to help support our local community is just as important to us. And that really occurs in the volunteer perspective. And he's put hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into that as well. So it's just a really cool thing to be a part of. I'm so proud to be able to be a part of the group, but be able to be following in the footsteps, if you will, of my dad, business partner. It's pretty cool.
It's amazing. You are accomplishing wonderful things, and I think that's one of the things that Kentwood does is we really pride ourselves on being rooted in the community and giving back to the community, and we're so pleased to be affiliated with you and have you as a part of our company. What was your journey to get into real estate? How did you get started?
Do you want me to answer that question or Roy? Mine's probably a little bit. Mine's probably a little bit shorter than
either one of you.
But I'll make some comments and Roy can add some color to it. But I've been in the business here now for about 7 years here locally. But my background in the business goes back, to when I was born. My dad's been in the business for 45 plus years. So I grew up around real estate. I grew up. We used to do balloons in the park for client events, and we used to pile into the back of a Suburban, my two brothers and myself, along with my dad and a couple of our friends, and do pass outs in neighborhoods. So making people aware of my dad and his business and neighborhoods that he did a lot of business. So for me, graduating from DU, getting a degree in finance, and that's my background, finance and management, along with my just lifelong experience in real estate, it was an easy transition. And it's been tremendously successful. We're so blessed. We're so thankful. But the root of our business was were really planted many, many years ago from my dad, and I'm just trying to add a couple extra branches if I can to this growing tree, if you will.
That's great. So when you start a family, you can just keep it going.
That's right. That's right.
That's great. And Roy, what about you? 45 years ago, what brought you to real estate?
It's actually a little over 40 years, but
sorry, do you have too much?
No, it's okay. It's all right. Sometimes it feels like 45. To have started a profession that never thought I'd be in real estate. My background was architecture, and I love planning. I love designing. I love being creative. I love thinking outside of the box. I love to sit down with people and chat with them to find out what is it that they need to build either a house or to build a commercial building, whatever the case may be. And then when we moved to Denver in 1978, we bought a house and we worked with a realtor. And the lady was absolutely fantastic. She asked a lot of questions. Almost felt like I went through a therapy session. I felt really good afterwards. It was like, wow, this is really good. She could have used GPS back then because she couldn't find a lot of places. But besides that, I just thought this would be really interesting if I do get a license in real estate. what will it be like if I sold real estate? Because I know the back end of the bricks and sticks and things like that. And so I decided, let me give it a shot. Let me get my license. So in 1980, I decided to get a license, and I went and joined Moore and Company. So when I started with Moore and Company, I thought it would be a breeze to start with real estate and develop business, and things will just basically take place, and I'll have a successful career. The first 6 months were extremely difficult because I didn't have any business, and I tried everything possible: corporate calling, physical calling. I decided to start a farm area. I had everything planned for a farm area. Nothing ever eventualized for my farm plan, which was meticulous. And so when I decided that it's time to get to work because my savings was getting low, it was the time when I thought, I have got paralysis. I cannot get out and walk the streets. What can I do? At about that time, Doug Zundell invited a hypnotist to our office. And so about half a dozen of us got together, and we met with this lady, and she had 3 sessions. By session number 2, I was out there walking, never looked back. First year, 31 transactions. The third year, 119 transactions. And it was just never stopped, really just farming and knocking doors. I loved it. Got the boys involved, passing 4th of July flags. Also balloons. Basically, back then it was after I left Moore Company with the Remax. It was the Remax balloon on the park that we did in the morning, passing out T-shirts, caps, etc. And so it became a lot of fun. I did that for about 20 years. I taught Moore Company Real Estate School, and it just progressed from there. So it was really a great experience.
You are the only one I know that's been hypnotized into success.
It's what I needed. It was really the fear of failure what kept me from doing it. I really just, you think about it and you paralyze yourself with the fear. And all you have to do is get over it. Once you get over it, you'll never forget it. You'll start on the right path. So that was really how I started into business, and made a go of it.
I just learned something I didn't know about you. That's phenomenal. So, Jonathan, in the last 5 years, what new belief or behavior has most improved your life, or a habit? What's most improved your life?
Yeah, really good question. There's a terrific book, and Gretchen, you'll be familiar with this book, called Atomic Habits. And I've read similar books to this as well. So you mentioned the word habit. And I think the realization of the power of habits, the power of having a process, having a routine. I've been always pretty routine driven, pretty goal driven from that perspective. But small tweaks here and there, and particularly, the atomic habit, where you're taking it really down to a finite level and creating successful, repeatable habits, can really make a tremendous impact on your life professionally, but also personally and beyond. So yeah, that would be my quick takeaway. Yeah,
that's such a good book because of the small, like very small, iterative little things you do to start creating good habits. The one I think about often is the guy who just drove to the gym. He didn't go in the gym.
Yeah.
He just drove to the gym, but he like created this habit of going to the gym every single morning. And finally he pulled up and he's like, I might as well go in and work out.
Might as well go in. Exactly right. It compounds. It compounds, right?
Roy, in the last 5 years, what new belief or behavior or habit has positively impacted your life? Is your answer different from Jonathan's?
Somewhat, Gretchen. I think since COVID made the scene, and it's just pretty recently, I decided to find out what are the opportunities that are available to us, either in business, in real estate, whatever it may be, that perhaps we can capitalize on. And so I read a book basically called Pandemic Inc., and it was talking about the pretty much the eight trends driving businesses and the opportunities of those businesses. And so I've always loved being on the cutting edge of things, even back in the 90s when I read Bill Gates, basically his thought at the speed of light. And I thought this is really a very worthwhile effort to find out what is it that we need to do during these times to exceed in what we do. What are the opportunities that are available to us? Not only in real estate, but outside of real estate. And I'm involved in some things that are outside of real estate as well. And so I feel that staying ahead, making this challenging time something that's an opportunity for you. How do we make that work for us? What are the business plans we need to do today in order to plan ahead? And so there are some ideas that I have that may become to fruition in some time in the future, but I'll tell you about it later. But either way, I think the opportunities that are created by challenges are just phenomenal. And not to repeat what I said before, but I know when I had 18% interest rates and 16% interest rates, and I was selling homes in excess of 100 units a year, that there's always opportunity. Doesn't matter what it is, there's always opportunity. So that's really what's improved my life so far, is searching for opportunities.
That's amazing. Can you repeat that book? Because that's one I haven't read, A Pandemic.
Yeah, it's called Pandemic Inc. And I've got it on Kindle. And if you have time, it's really a worthwhile book. It's a short book. It's like 170 pages, but it's really it's oh shoot, I'll send you the link to it. But check it on Amazon or Kindle, whatever it is, Pandemic Inc., and you'll really get some valuable information from that.
That sounds fascinating. One of the questions I'm really curious about is, what are bad recommendations you hear in our profession?
Yeah, that's a
Jonathan, you want to go? Yeah.
Well, I think we probably can both add to this. There's it's an interesting question. There's a lot of bad recommendations out there, unfortunately, right? I think probably one of the biggest ones that we run into today, particularly given the competitive market that we're in, the low inventory on the buyer side, is agents recommending waiving certain contingencies, specifically contingencies that were designed originally to protect the consumer, the buyer in this instance. One of those being inspections, right? Waiving inspections entirely in order to try to win a property, in our professional opinion, doesn't make sense. It's like buying a car without checking to see if there's an engine in there. So that would be one that kind of sits top of mind for me.
I agree with that. I think you should inspect the property, and it's interesting, in some markets, not in Colorado, they pre-inspect. So the inspections are done prior to even proffering an offer.
Absolutely. California being one of them. We've got some California clients that we just spoke about that yesterday. So.
Yeah. Roy, what about you? Is there a different bad piece of bad advice or bad recommendations you've heard in our profession?
Gretchen, I've got to say, essentially, we do hear the bad recommendations, like John was mentioning. A lot of it I just don't listen to, and I just put it aside. We are very fortunate to be with such a wonderful company that has such a high level of professionalism and cooperation. And so the learning that you absorb through just being with people like us in our offices is phenomenal. It's like you're flying with the Eagles, essentially. And so I try not to even consider bad recommendations, because you know what the outcome will be, most likely. And perhaps I can learn something from it, and I have in the past. But I think at this level of my career, I just, you hear a lot of bad recommendations that literally just basically enter in one ear and go out the other. And so, we're lucky to be affiliated with Kentwood, because we have a lot of top ideas and recommendations, almost the opposite.
So the best advice for the consumer based on that, I think, is go with someone who's highly professional and experienced, and don't listen to the noise. Listen to the experience.
Absolutely.
100%.
When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused, what do you do? How, if you've lost your focus temporarily, what questions do you ask yourself, or what do you do to bring yourself back into focus? Especially now, I've seen some of our agents and some of the agents out there in the community just really excelling through these difficult times and showing a lot of resilience. And other people, it feels like their resilience and their energy level is kind of drained. What do you do to keep yourself energetic and focused?
I think it goes back to our friend that you mentioned that drives to the gym and he just waits there. Just show up. That's one of those first things that you can do, and that's easy to do. Doesn't take much effort, but all you need to do is show up. If you show up, the work, the processes, the habits will all become ingrained, and I think that's something that has worked. I think for both Roy and I, where we just show up and things happen for us.
That's perfect. And Roy, what about you? Anything that you do specifically to stay focused?
Sure, it's change your state of mind. However you do it, change your state of mind. If it's a routine, if it's an event that you attended, if it's something that really made a huge impact on your life, go back to it. How did you feel about it? What is it that made you feel good about it? How can you repeat that again? You know, it could happen in a matter of minutes. And one of the things that I think about, because I'm a huge believer of Tony Robbins, I know we had a sales meeting about it, and all I recall is in 1994 that I walked through, I think it was 100 feet of coal, 1,100 degree coal. Now, if you could do that and not burn yourself, that to me is like, you can do anything. So get out of your funk, get back to business, and just move it forward. So that's pretty much what I do. I go back and basically set up a state of mind that's a positive state of mind, and then from there, things happen. You just basically get back to your norm, and then you just get back to life.
I love that thought about going back in time to something that was a positive feeling or something that gave you good energy, and sort of revisiting that in your mind's eye. I think that's a great way to look at it. And it's so accessible. Like, you don't have to have any tools or digital or anything. You can just kind of do it in your head. The other thing I like to do is stay in gratitude. I try very hard to stay in gratitude and stay out of frustration, but that's not always easy. So one last question. What is one of the best or most worthwhile investments that you've ever made?
You want to go ahead on that, Pops? Go ahead.
To me, it would be volunteering, time and energy. Gretchen, how to make a difference not only on a micro level but on a macro level. And my worthwhile investment was when I volunteered to become part of a committee called the Education Committee with Honey. And Honey was the Highland United Neighbors Incorporated, sort of a community organization. It was not like an HOA, but it was a community organization in Lohi. And so once I became involved with that, the scope of what needed to be done was massive. How do you improve the performance of a school, of a high school? Just take it, high school. So just going through the steps and going through the priorities and going through the work and the planning and getting the right smart people together in the community to actually help you within that committee to come up to a level of funding that was far beyond what they ever thought of, I think to me is really worthwhile for a community. I always feel that education is huge. Not only is it important for the community itself, but also for real estate. So the better the schools, the better the values. And so when we moved there and I realized the high school needed some help and it was 74% Latin, so I could speak their language, I thought, why don't I get involved? And so we went from 10,000 a year of fundraising for all the schools when I joined the committee to up to, I think we had up to 900,000 in 3 years. And consequently, that brought some notice for, what we did with the Honey Education Committee. And so to me, that's really a worthwhile investment to leave a legacy, leave an impact within the school that anything is possible. and listen to your students, not only the brightest, but also your average student as well. They may come back and help you. So help them out in the process, and they'll be able to help you as a school, perhaps in another city or community. So to me, that's been the worthwhile investment, time and energy in helping the community.
That's an amazing answer. What about you, John?
I think the most worthwhile investment, is just education. Education in all fronts, whether it's within real estate, reading book, expanding your mind. Education is power at the end of the day. There's so many ways, free and otherwise, to educate yourself. And so never stop learning. Try to continue to, again, seek more knowledge, learn more about our business, learn about ancillary business associated with ours. And then personal development as well, I think have been the most worthwhile investments recently.
Any summary ideas you want to send out to the universe?
I think I just want to piggyback off of what Roy had mentioned earlier, and not underplaying the fact that we're a part of such a tremendous community at Kentwood. It's beyond a company, and I think real estate and a lot of people who are not in the business don't necessarily realize how important the brand and the brokerage that you're with is. And when you're in the business, you see it, but when you're out, you don't. So there's a lot of different companies out there, and many of them are fantastic. But it's really quite an honor to be a part of a company that, as Roy mentioned, are the Eagles, right? Really the top tier professionals. It makes us better people, makes us better professionals, and ultimately better realtors and better able to serve our clients in our community. So it's pretty fantastic, and a big thanks to you, Gretchen, for leading the initiative and leading our group as our CEO.
Well, thank you. That was amazing. I appreciate that, and I feel the same way. Roy, what about you? Any summary?
John just encapsulated everything that I wanted to say as well. So congratulations, Gretchen. And I feel very fortunate to be part of the group. My hopes are that once I decide to move on, that Jonathan and whatever other group he decides to have join us can make a huge impact in not only Kentwood, but the community as well. So thank you for everything you've done. It hasn't been easy. It's not easy leading an organization made up, like John was saying, of high-flying agents. It's a very difficult task, and you've done a phenomenal job in basically guiding us through some incredible times, good and bad. And so my hat's off to you, our hat's off to you for what you've done. And this is not just to basically make you feel good, it is the reality. You join a top organization, you get top leadership. And this is what's happened. So I feel that that's our future, is you guide us, and we basically follow the lead. And we have our own differences, of course, like anybody does. But at the end of the day, is basically it all starts from the top. So thank you for leading us in the right direction. And we're very excited to be part of the team, the Kentwood family.
Well, thank you. And I feel like I just am here to serve you and build your careers. So I appreciate that, but it's really all about you and the people, and it's about our consumers. So I want to just summarize this by saying thank you to Roy Lopez and Jonathan Lopez of the Glery Ross Group. And I want to just say to you two, you are excellent leaders who walk your walk. You lead with your hearts on your sleeve. When I asked you that question about the best investment or the most important, impactful investment, I expected it to be something like buy real estate and hold on to it. The fact that you said education and community service just proves you are who you say you are, and your clients and your consumers and customers are so lucky to have you representing them. So I feel fortunate and proud to be affiliated and call you colleagues. And I just want to thank you for your time today. Have a wonderful
Thank you.
rest of your
Thank
day.
you so much. Thank you so much, Gretchen.